Welcome back, everybody. This is the last section in this unit before the quiz. This is Mr. Coley, and this has been our companion video series. Okay, so we're on unit about programming. We talked about, we wrote our first code. We talked about how pseudocode is so important. It's kind of that layman's common denominator language so that we can all sit together, whether we speak Java, JavaScript, Kotlin, Ruby, whatever else. It's kind of that common language that we try to all speak so that everybody knows what we're trying to accomplish, so that we can go back and write it in our own languages. We then talked about variables, how to name variables and set variables. We then talked about math and how to do the basics, add, subtract, multiply, divide. And then we talked about in procedures and constants that there are built-in functions of math, like absolute values and logarithms and sine, cosine, tangents. And there's a cheat sheet documentation that you could download, keep with you, or keep it in a folder. That if you ever need to use some of those, you go for it. So today we're going to talk about, or this lesson, we're going to talk about strings. Like I said, it's the last one before the quiz. So we're going to talk about strings. And a string is really kind of the name. So when we're making a program, we often want to store sequences of letters, like storing easy as the game's difficulty level. In programming lingo, we call each letter a character, and we call this sequence a string. Okay, so look at here. We have a variable. It's going to be named player, and here's our string. It's going to be Gray Fox, all one word. They want G and F capitalized. Okay, Gray Fox is this. Actually, probably better say, strings have to be encapsulated with parentheses. So this string would be the parentheses, the word Gray Fox inside of it. Each one of these G, R, A, Y are characters. And those can be anything. It could be numbers, those can be symbols or letters. So in this one, the whole string is the parentheses, Baskin Robbins 31 flavors. That's the string. See everything down here? Parentheses or quotations, A plus. A is a character, plus is a character. The whole thing is a string. It's very important. Notice how each string is surrounded by double quotes on either side. If you don't put any quotes around a string, JavaScript will get confused, and you'll see this guy. Oh no. Okay. So what we're going to do, if you forget the quotes, here's what happens. It doesn't do anything, right? So, one second. Oh, it's going to explain it to us here. Error. Here's what happens on the first line. JavaScript looks for a variable named Gray Fox. If it could actually find one, it would set the player value equal to the value of Gray Fox variable. Since it doesn't find one, it errors instead. If you want to store the literal string, you must surround it in quotes. Okay, so we would surround it in quotes. And then, excuse me, this is a string, and it's got to be surrounded in quotes as well. And the error went away. Notice, I did not put the quotation outside of the semicolon. It's only around what you want to be the sequence, okay? So, which of these valid lines of JavaScript to store a string? Okay, so from what I know about strings, they have to be surrounded by quotations. That's the first thing I'm looking for. So bots.rs, no quotation. Poly, no quotation. 5 off cheat. Hey, there's a quote, there's a quote. That one looks good to me. There's a quote, there's a quote. That one looks good to me. 2 quotes. We'll skip this one. OMAT, there's no quote at the end. Now, this is technically a string, I'm pretty sure. There's quotes and quotes, but there's nothing inside. Let's see if we're right. Yes, hot dog. Okay, everything we're looking for in a string is surrounded by quotes, whether there's 0 characters or 100 characters. Okay, so how does the pseudocode for string work? This pseudocode represents storing a string. A arrow quotation string. Okay, whenever you see that pseudocode, it means that a variable, or whatever it's called, is storing the string inside the double quotes. For example, you might see like this: difficulty is, quote, medium, quote. That means that the variable difficulty is storing the string medium. Okay, let's look at in different languages. And again, I don't want to confuse you. I just want you to see why it's important that we kind of get a handle on pseudocode, as well as the code language, which is JavaScript. So we know variable difficulty equals, and then the string, which is quote, medium, quote. Okay, that's what a proper would be. In Python, you don't have to say variable, you say difficulty equals quotes, but there's no semicolon. And in Java code, you actually tell it string difficulty equals quote, medium, quote. Okay, so Java was a little bit longer. Okay, what is the pseudocode equivalent of this JavaScript? Variable hair equals curly in pseudocode. Okay, so in pseudocode, I know we use arrows, not equal signs. Okay, so I've got 2 options, curly and curly. And I know that consistently strings use the quotation marks. So an option for me is C, and hot dog, I'm correct. Listen, I'm not always correct, by the way. Like, it's very possible I get one of these wrong, and I'm not trying to do it on purpose or not. This one says, what's the pseudocode for this? Variable of password is equals 2278. Okay, so we drop the word variable. We know it's password. We know there's an arrow, but there's got to be quotations. Answer C. That is correct. And that's it for that one. Let's go to the next article. So we know that a string is what we're naming something, and each one of those individual letters, numbers, or spaces is called a character, or symbols, I suppose. So now it's going to take it up to the next level of abstraction. Computer programs don't just store strings, they also manipulate them. With string operations, we can chop strings up, mash strings together, or transform strings in all sorts of ways. So here's how we can combine strings. Okay, and as we're doing this, I want you to think about, how could this be useful in the future? We love coming up with new lingo in computer programming land. One word you probably never used is concatenation. Concatenation is how I say it. And that's our fancy way of describing how we combine strings. Here's what it looks like. So let's say we got a variable and it's a name, and it equals, no, it's a string, so we got to give it parentheses, Winston, parentheses, semicolon. Okay, so that's the name of that variable. Now we're going to add a new line called greeting. Variable greeting equals, quote, hello, comma, space, quote, plus name. Okay, so if we were to print this line, it would run it, the program would say hello, comma, space, plus Winston. That's what it's looking for. Little teaser, this space right here is kind of in the check questions, what they're going to try to trip you up on. So all they did was the greeting, they give it a string, plus they reference name, which is that variable's name. And of course you got the semicolon at the end. The greeting variable stores the result of the 2 strings. Cool. From the Latin con, meaning together, and catenare means chain. We can change any number of strings. So here we go. Here's a variable named Winston. It's a string with quotations. Here's a variable title, Sir, quotations. And here's a greeting. String, hello, comma, space, quote, plus title, Sir, plus name, Winston. Okay, so this is what it looks like down here. Here's what we just did. Name, title, greeting. Greeting says hello plus title plus name. Oh, this looks wonky. Hello, comma, Sir Winston. So what could the possibly be? Well, notice here we left a space right there. So in order to fix this, we just need to leave a space after sir. Otherwise, this is literally taking these three characters, I suppose, and butting up against these characters, and that's why it was messed up. I noticed that we could see this in writing because we used a print line of greeting as a variable, and here's the greeting, information. Okay, expression, I suppose you might say. Imagine our program starts with this line. Variable nickname equals, quote, splashy pants, quote. Select the line of JavaScript code that successfully stores, quote, ahoy, comma, splashy pants, exclamation point. All right. So our variable greeting, this one says ahoy, comma, space, nickname, and then adds this. One of the things I noticed right off the bat, it's imperative, I know, that we have these plus signs along the way. So my answer has to have plus signs in it. This one says ahoy, there's a space, plus the nickname. This is the nickname right here. Plus, we want the exclamation point. That one looks good to me. Let's check the rest of them real quick, see if I missed something. Ahoy, nickname. Okay, there's no pluses. Ahoy, plus nickname, plus exclamation. Well, let's look at these two. The last one, ahoy, plus nickname. Okay, it's missing the plus there. So we're down between B and D. And I can see what the problem is. This one wants it to say ahoy, space, splashy pants. This one leaves the space. This one does not leave the space. So I'm going to say that B is the answer. Way to go, me. Okay, there's one or two other things that we can do. We can take a string and slice it into a substring. Okay? And this is kind of a way of using numbers and let me just read it and try to make sense. One way to slice JavaScript with a substring command. It takes two parameters, the start position and length. To use it, we call the command the string itself. So this one says Harry Potter substring 05. So look at it this way. In JavaScript and most languages, the first position of the string is index 0. So H was the first character we typed, and that's like the 0 number. So the first number in JavaScript is actually like the 0 position. And then it's almost like filling out the old I-step bubble letters. You just work your way down to the right. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We want a space between the words. 5, 6, 7, on and on. So if I sell it, hey, here's our substring, and I want to start at position 0 and go 5 spaces. Here's position 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got to include the 0. I may be wrong. It's taking it. That's 5. Okay, that's 5. I didn't know if it would take it 5 characters or go to the 5th spot. But this says right here, it takes two parameters, the start position and the length. So start position was 0. Length was 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how we got the word Harry. Notice, if they wanted to the 6th position, it would be Harry space. Okay. An off by 1 error is a common kind of logic error that can happen when you're dealing with indices and accidentally use too high or too low an index. Whatever language or command you're using, make sure you understand exactly how that command works. Always check your output. Okay. The program below stores multiple substrings of one string, a phone number. Try to edit the code to store a third substring. Okay, so if I look at the over here, 617 is the area code. How do they do that? Well, here's the full number. This right here. That's our full string. So they made the area code the full number, variable, dot substring, substring position 1 and go 3 numbers. So the parentheses is position 0, 1, and we're going 3 numbers, 6, 1, 7. And that's why we have over here 617. And then we printed area code. Okay, that's why we're seeing that. The second set of numbers here says variable local number is equal to the full number. It gave you the full number up here. And we're telling it, hey, substring the 6 spot 8 in length. So what it did was the parentheses is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 6. And then go add 8 numbers. And that's why we've got the telephone number down here. And now it's asking us, hey, see if you can add it to where you just have the extension on the 3rd line. All right, I feel pretty good about this. Let's create a variable. Let's just call it extension. And this is going to be equal to. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to work off of our full number. So FULLNUM. It's going to reference this string up here. But what we're going to do is do a substring, SUBSTR, opening parentheses, comma, close, colon. Okay. Now, the reason I didn't plug numbers in is because I hadn't done any counting yet. All right. So, let's see if this is 6 plus 8, 6, 8, 14, 15. So let's try 15. And the second number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. And I don't see it down here. Why don't I see it down here? Because I didn't tell the computer to print the line. So if I write print line of extension. Oh, forgot my semicolon. Hot dog, look at that. So let's say I was wrong. Let's say I put this one as 14. Okay. Notice I got a space and I'm listing off the 1. Okay. When you click on the number, you get these arrows. I could go to the right one and it moves that spot for me. Okay. So you'll get used to using this a little bit. Okay. So I can grab it, move it left or right. Okay. And there you go. So I was able to add a 3rd substring of the extension number. Yay me. Okay. Here's some other operations you can do in strings. Okay. You could find the position of a character in a string. You type in index of E. You can convert all of them to lowercase or uppercase or lowercase. You can report the length of the string. Okay. You can add multiple strings together. Let's say we want to both convert a string to uppercase and slice a substring out of it. One way to do it is a single operation at a time. So this is an example, and this is an example of doing the same thing. This is what we've been doing. We had a variable with a name of address, and its string was this. We could take the upper. We're making a new variable, calling it upper address, and it's address dot to uppercase, close parentheses, okay, colon, and then upper street is upper address and a substrate of it is what it was trying to accomplish. Okay. This one here is just taking it and doing it all in 2 steps. I don't want to get bogged down in that. You might need to practice that if you find that you have lots of questions about it. Just know that strings are what we call after it. Characters are the individual letters, numbers, spaces, and symbols. And you can do several cool things, including a substring, okay, where you utilize these as numbers and just reference certain numbers inside of it. Okay, let's go to the bottom and talk about pseudocode. Okay, since many programming languages use procedures for string operations instead of operators, this is how you likely see them. For example, here's a description of concatenation procedure. Concat string 1, comma string 2. Concat string 1 and string 2, returning the combined string. The following line of pseudocode uses the concat procedure to store doghouse in the variable home. So home is concat of dog string and house string. Notice there's no space between doghouse, and they don't include a space after the G here. Okay. A slicing operation only operates on a single string but needs parameters to figure out where to slice. Thus, the description of slice procedure might look like this. Slice, string, start, and length. Returns the substring from a string to the start and containing the length. Strings start at 1. Now, this doesn't make much sense until you see it done, okay? The line of pseudocode uses slice procedure to store Dan in the variable nickname. What it's doing is telling it nickname. Oh, here you go. Nickname is slice Daniel 1, 2, 3 with cut Dan. So here's what it did. Nickname slice start at position 1, which is the D, and go 3 spots, DAN. It's a little complicated. It's not really written out very well, but the pseudocode is telling you, hey, we're going to splice something, and the substring is going to be the starting, whatever letter the starting is on. It always starts with 1 and pseudocode, and then how long. So what's the pseudocode equivalent for this? San Diego, substring 0 to 3. We're doing this. We got to remember that the pseudocode starts at 1. So we're going to tell it slice. Of course, San Diego is the string. Okay, and we want to, in JavaScript, 0 is this spot. But in pseudocode, this spot is a 1. Okay, so we're going to tell it to go to 1. I know it's one of these two. And we're going to tell it to go 3 letters in length. So 1, 2, 3. This one. Boom, shakalaka. See what I did there? I told it to go to, I told it that we're going to slice it. And here was our string. And in pseudocode, the first position is 1, not 0 like Java. 1 and it's 3 in length. That would give us San. Let's try another one. What's the pseudocode equivalent of this JavaScript? All right. This number minus this number is the string dot sub 6 4. So 0 1 2 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 4 in length is that okay? That's what I need to know. We're still, the 4 is consistent, so I know it's going to end in a 4. But remember, this starts at 1, the 1's location, not the 0's location. So I'm going to choose C. Yes. So we sliced it, and we're going to go here instead of 6 because this one starts with 1. It's a little confusing. Let's see if we can do another one. All right. What is the pseudocode equivalent of this JavaScript? Ghost plus busters. What's the pseudocode? Trying to see what the differences are here. Concat, parentheses. I think it's... If I choose this one, what's the difference between this one and this one? Oh, there's a plus sign. So yeah, I want the plus sign. Let's try that. No, let's see. Pseudocode incorrectly uses a plus sign instead of a comma. So this one then, maybe? Yeah, okay. So pseudocode, I forgot, doesn't use plus signs. They just separate them with a comma. This string, comma, this string. Okay, good to know. Next question. What's the pseudocode equivalent of this JavaScript? San plus Diego. Concat, everything's in quotes. Everything's listed with a parenthesis. Oh. Why? The pseudocode is missing after a can inside. Oh, it's a space. My bad. I didn't see it was missing a space, so it should be C. No, it's not. Why? It's using a plus sign. It should be B because there's a space and it's separated by... It should be B because it's separated by... There's the space and it's separated by a comma. See, I told you I don't get all of them right. Okay. So, hopefully strings didn't confuse you too much. They are a little bit more higher thinking. Okay, you got to kind of get the hang of it. If you need to go back and watch this or read this again, by all means, go for it. Okay. Otherwise, you're ready to take the quiz. Good luck to you.